Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. For years, forests around the world continue to surprise and frighten humanity. After all, these forests are full of things we don't know, and you never know what's hiding in the dense forests. We continue to explore unknown parts of forests all over the world, although it is quite dangerous. And every year amazing new discoveries come out. Today we're going to take a look at some interesting discoveries found in forests around the world. If you're ready, let's start. German bunker. In 1945, German dictator Adolf Hitler and his wife Eva Braun escaped through a secret tunnel to hide their escape, leaving two kinds of corpses behind. This convinced the Allied forces that Hitler and his wife were dead and that they did not need to follow the Nazi leader. Or at least many people thought that way. Although Hitler was declared dead on April 30, 1945, many believe that Hitler escaped from Europe and went to the south of Argentina, where a secret bunker was prepared for him. Because Argentina is famous for its association with the Third Reich regime from January 1933 to May 1945. In 2015, Argentine archaeologists announced that they had found a bunker built during the Second World War. This bunker was built to be a temporary shelter for all defeated Nazis. Inside this bunker were found German coins minted during the Nazi era, porcelain plates and other items from the tragic period. This discovery made the alleged rumors about the Nazi leader's escape seem true. However, this scenario cannot cease to be an alternative date. The German bunker is an incredible find, but archaeologists believe it never served its purpose and the German soldiers mentioned never needed it. The Lost City. Archaeologists in Honduras were stunned when they found a lost city that had never been explored. While exploring the depths of the rainforest, the research team found traces of an unknown civilization. Called the White City of the Monkey God, or White for short, it was first noticed in 2012 when archaeologists used light sensing and distance detection devices to explore the forest. But they didn't publish the findings until 2015. The city, which had been abandoned for 1,000 years, was untouched. Among these remains are the ruined town square and earthen pyramids. Also found were ship figures from Mesoamerica, thought to be before the Columbian period. What was surprising was that underneath the ruins were labyrinths, most likely used for burial rites. Nothing in this city was untouched, and there was no sign of the area being looted. So much so that experts and explorers searched for the city told in stories for years. Natives living near the forest spoke of a White House where Indians fled to hide from Spanish forces. It was a shelter that no one could find. Until an explorer named Theodore Morel claimed to have found this city in 1940. He returned from his long journey with thousands of artifacts to prove that he had found the lost ruins. But he refused to reveal the location of the lost city for fear that it would be looted or, worse, destroyed. The locals even told Giador that a huge statue of a monkey god was buried somewhere in the ruins. Unfortunately, Theodore took his own life before the truth of his discovery was realized. Today, archaeologists believe that the ruins in Honduras are most likely the city he found decades ago. This lost city still remains a mystery and there is still much to discover. What civilization do these ruins belong to? What were the beliefs of this civilization? Answering these questions seems to take time. Vietnam's Co Chi Tunnels. Human history is full of wars and blood. Even after a long time, the remnants of war continue to emerge. Vietnam is just one of many Asian countries that have gone through tough times. However, this country has an enormous tunnel system that stretches thousands of kilometers under the area to the northwest of Saigo. These tunnels were used by communist troops as a shelter for supplies during the Vietnam War. Moreover, thanks to these tunnels, booby traps were set up all over the region and these tunnels were used as a means of transportation for surprise attacks. It was such an effective system that US and South Vietnamese forces had to use rats to enter and report any traps or troops hiding underground. These tunnel systems cover an area of over 250 kilometers from the outskirts of Saigo to the Cambodian border. The narrow entryways of the tunnels make them look incredibly scary. During the most dangerous times of the Vietnam War, these tunnels killed many people, but they also saved many. The eighth wonder of the world. Sigiriya or Lion Rock is a massive ancient fort located in central Sri Lanka. This imposing castle has a column about 180 meters high. Many people consider this castle to be the eighth wonder of the world. Not only because it is beautiful, but also because it is very important historically and archaeologically. So much so that this building was used as a house by people in many periods of history. Archaeologists have found rock shelters dating back to the Mesolithic period, about 5,000 years ago. This is why this castle is believed to be one of the oldest structures in the world. This castle has a large water tank and many gardens. The staircase leading to the gardens of the castle is considered an architectural masterpiece. Each step is carved from limestone and the entrance to the castle is shaped like a creature's mouth. Ancient inscriptions show that King Casbaya built this magnificent castle in 477 AD. However, the Lion Rock has become a popular tourist destination that amazes everyone who sees it today. Ancient circles. The Amazon forest or Amazonia is the largest tropical rainforest in the world, stretching from northwestern Brazil to Colombia, Peru, and other South American countries, and is home to more than 3 million different species. That is why it is considered one of the most important places in the world. It is highly valuable both archaeologically and for its biodiversity. In 2014, archaeologists announced they had found ditches around the rainforest older than the Amazon. These mysterious earthworks could not be noticed for a long time due to the rainforest. These structures were first discovered in the 1980s after much of the rainforest was cut down as part of the Amazon colonization project. And today they are known as Amazon rings. But what the signs mean or who did it is still unknown. It is estimated that these structures were built between 1,000 and 2,000 years ago, during the formation of the Amazons. Since these circles are almost completely empty, they are thought to be ditches occasionally dug by humans to be used for ceremonies rather than a ritual or ritual site. Additionally, unlike other ditches or geographies in the world, the only artifacts found in the Amazon rings were decorated ceramic vessels. This is why ancient people are thought to have roamed the Amazon and dug these trenches whenever they had to hold a ceremony. But who made these circles still remains a mystery. Ancient tribe. In the year 1914, English explorer Percy Fawcett claimed to have seen a tribe of large, hairy men in the woods of South America. Members of this tribe simply made strange noises and could not speak. However, they could use bows and arrows and looked like they would attack at any moment. Maricoxes are claimed to be humanoid creatures that can grow up to 3.5 meters living in the jungles of South America, and are described as bipedal creatures skilled in attack techniques despite not knowing any human language. Fawcett's claim became even more mysterious when he disappeared with his son, and his diary was later published by his other son, Brian Fawcett. It was of great interest to people who study mysterious animals today and was accepted as evidence. He is just one of those who claim to have encountered the Fawcett Maricoxi tribe. The aggressive behavior of these creatures was consistent with other claims made. Some even describe how they were attacked and barely escaped, and it is claimed that the Maricoxi quickly disappeared because they dominated the forest in which they lived. The man who lived in the forest for 30 years. In December 1944, the last months of the Second World War began. But no one, including the soldiers, thought that the bloody war that had been going on for 6 years would end soon. Meanwhile, the Japanese Lieutenant Hiro Onoda had been appointed as the Qadi of Lebanon and was determined to do his duty. His superiors did not think that Onoda would take his duties as a soldier so seriously. A few weeks after the lieutenant arrived on duty, U.S. soldiers forced Japanese troops to retreat and hide in the woods. Many of Onoda's friends died or were taken hostage by U.S. soldiers. However, he managed to hide in the forest with his 3 fellow soldiers. Onoda's mission was for the 4 soldiers to do more than just survive in the jungle. So they fought guerrilla war as best they could and at times even got involved in a few clashes with the local police. After all, they did not know that their country would surrender in October 1945. Soon after, leaflets were distributed throughout the region announcing the end of the war on August 15. and all soldiers were ordered to descend from the mountains. However, he thought that the leaflets were prepared by the Allies and continued to hide. Later, orders issued by General Tomoyuki Yamashita of the 14th District Army to surrender were once again airborne. He also read the orders with his friends, but once again they ignored it, thinking it was a deception of the enemy. However, in March 1950, about 5 years after the end of the war, one of the soldiers, the Philippine forces, decided to surrender. In 1952, letters and pictures were distributed by plane to encourage the soldiers to return home and surrender. However, the 3 remaining soldiers still refused to believe and were determined to hold the island until the Imperial Army returned. One of the remaining soldiers was killed by the local population in a shootout in 1954. Later, the Japanese government declared Onoda dead, but Onoda and her friends were still trying to fulfill their duties in the Philippines forest. This wait lasted until February 20, 1974, when Norio Suzuki found Lieutenant Onoda. However, Onoda was still unconvinced and refused to leave until Major Yasumi Taniguchi personally went to Lubang Island and gave his orders. On the 9th of March, 1974, it was announced to Onoda that the war was over, and only in this way could he be persuaded. After 30 long and difficult years and several comrades who had passed away, Onoda's military service was finally over. That's why he handed over 500 bullets and ammunition, along with his sword and rifle, before returning to Japan. Thus, he became a popular figure in his country. And he spent the rest of his life peacefully and died at the age of 91. Patu bird. You may have seen this bird in funny photos online. So are these birds real? Until recently, people thought this bird was not real, because these birds look very strange and artificial. However, Batu birds live in Central and South America. They are known for their great camouflage abilities, peculiar eyes, and loud noises. These birds can easily hide and disguise themselves as tree branches. Many people find these birds intimidating, but Patu birds are actually quite shy and reserved creatures. Yes, they may look like they'll attack you if you're provoked even a little bit, but they'd rather hide and avoid danger than fight. Lost City of the Mayans. Located in the middle of a lush forest in El Morador, this area was once a settlement. It is also considered to be the lost city of the Mayans. Claudia Urrutia, an engineer, discovered some ruins while researching the Mirador Basin in the year 1885. It was archaeologist Silvanos Morley who first described the area in 1937. This was followed by the Carnegie Institute expedition in 1943. The first serious archaeological investigation, however, took place in the early 1960s when Graham decided to explore the area completely. After Graham made a detailed map of the ruins, in 1978 archaeologists conducted a careful survey of the surrounding area. El Mirador is considered one of the greatest jewels of Mayan culture. Because among the ruins, there is a huge pyramid called La Danta, about 70 meters high. Moreover, even though all the ruins are intertwined with nature, the ascending roads are easily visible. Archaeologists estimate that the lost city dates back between 1000 and 4000 BC. But little is known about these civilizations. For example, about 200,000 people lived on this land, but the whole city was strangely abandoned about 2,000 years ago. Today, the ruins continue to be studied and the area is open to the public. The road to these ruins is quite difficult. But it is worth the trip if you want to see the essence of Maya culture. Warplane. The United States joined the war after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And with his participation in the war, a large number of aircraft and ships were deployed. Among them was a B-17E bomber, whose mission was to destroy Japanese forces. However, he was shot multiple times during the attack. It was damaged and fell into a forest in Papua New Guinea. Everyone thought the plane crashed due to damage. But when someone found and inspected the wreckage, the true cause of the crash was revealed. Surprisingly, the aircraft suffered little damage, even though it was shot down multiple times by Japanese troops. However, the reason for the crash was that the plane ran out of fuel in the middle of the conflict. When the plane crashed, all its crew had survived. However, the place where they fell was quite dangerous. The survivors did their best to survive on their own in the heat of the sun for weeks without adequate food and water. Fortunately, the soldiers managed to escape, but the wreckage of the plane remained where it crashed for years. And years later, when the date showed April 10, 2013, the plane was removed from its location and moved to the Pacific Aviation Museum at Harvard. The plane was called a swamp ghost because of the wreck's location.